You don't remember the exact moment you stopped believing things would get better. It wasn't dramatic. There was no single day where the world shifted. It happened the way rust spreads, quietly, in places you weren't looking. You're 34. You work as a mid-level compliance analyst for a regional logistics firm in Cincinnati. Your apartment is clean but sparse. Your car has 112,000 miles on it. You eat the same 4 meals on rotation, not because you love them, but because grocery decisions feel like one more thing you don't have energy for. You are good at your job. Quietly, precisely good. You catch discrepancies that senior partners miss. You file reports that protect the company from exposure they don't even know they're facing. Your reviews say things like detail-oriented and reliable under pressure. Nobody has given you a raise in 22 months. Your manager drives a Porsche Cayenne. You've seen his work. You know what it's worth. You're not angry about it. That's the part that should worry you. You've moved past anger into something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. Or something that looks like acceptance from the outside. You go home on a Tuesday in late October. You make pasta. You watch something on your laptop, you won't remember what, and you fall asleep on the couch before 10. Your phone has 3 notifications. One is a bank alert. One is a promotional email. One is a text from your sister asking if you're coming home for Thanksgiving. You don't respond to any of them. His name is Marcus Hale, and you've known him for about 3 years through a professional networking group you attend mostly out of habit. He's the kind of person who makes you aware of your own posture. Mid-40s, always slightly tanned regardless of season, wears watches that don't announce themselves but cost more than your car. He runs a private logistics consulting firm. At least, that's what he says. You've never been entirely clear on what he actually does, and somehow his answers always feel complete without being specific. He calls you one Thursday afternoon, which is unusual. Marcus emails. He doesn't call. He says he has a project. Something that needs someone who understands compliance infrastructure, specifically how federal transportation reporting works, where audits typically focus, where they don't. He mentions a number. A consulting rate. For 1 month of part-time advisory work. The number is $18,000. You sit very still in your car in the parking garage after the call ends. The fluorescent light above you flickers twice. You tell yourself you're not considering it. You tell yourself this as you drive home. You tell yourself this while making dinner. You're good enough at believing yourself that the thought almost goes away entirely. Almost. You don't call him back for 6 days. In those 6 days you research everything searchable about his firm, about the consulting arrangement he described, about the reporting structures he referenced. Nothing comes back wrong. That should be reassuring. For some reason, it isn't. On the 7th day, you call him back and say you need more information before you can commit. This is true. It is also the first step, though you don't recognize it yet. He sends you a document. It's detailed, professional, formatted better than anything your current employer produces. The scope of work is genuine. It is also, if you read between the lines with your particular skill set, designed to create specific gaps in a compliance audit trail. Not fake gaps. Real ones. Legitimate-looking ones. The kind that only someone who knows exactly what to look for would notice. You notice. You stare at the document for a long time. You think about your sister. You think about the fact that you haven't had a vacation in 4 years. You think about a specific Tuesday afternoon 2 months ago when your manager presented your analysis to the board and used the word "I" 17 times. You close the document. You open it again. You tell yourself you're only going to ask one more question. The question leads to a meeting. The meeting is at a restaurant downtown. Good, but not ostentatious. Marcus is already seated. He orders water. He's calm in the way that people are calm when they've had this conversation before and know exactly how it ends. You ask him directly what the nature of the client's business is. He tells you it's private freight coordination with international components. He says the compliance sensitivity relates to customs documentation overlap with federal transportation records. He uses the right language. All of it. None of it is a lie. You understand in a precise and uncomfortable way that this is because he's very good at telling the truth in ways that obscure what the truth is adjacent to. You say you'll think about it. He nods. He doesn't push. That's what you remember later. He doesn't push at all. What breaks you isn't greed. You want to be clear about that, even now. It's a letter. 14 days after your meeting with Marcus, you receive a letter from your student loan servicer. An administrative error has resulted in a recalculation of your income-based repayment plan. Your monthly payment is increasing by $340, effective in 30 days. You sit on your kitchen floor. Not because you're devastated. Because sitting on the floor is the honest response to how your body feels, and you've stopped performing okayness for an apartment no one else lives in. You think about the $18,000. Not in an abstract way. In a specific way. You think about the exact number in your checking account. You think about the transmission service your car needs. You think about the fact that you've been eating poorly because vegetables have gotten expensive and protein costs more than it did 2 years ago. You pick up your phone. You send Marcus a text. 4 words. I'm in. 1 month. The work itself is not dramatic. This surprises you. You expected something that felt different, something with texture and weight. Instead it feels like work. Sophisticated work, careful work, but work. You review documentation frameworks. You identify reporting windows. You draft a structural recommendation for how a particular category of freight manifests should be categorized to fall within a specific federal audit threshold. It is, in the most precise technical sense, legal. The thinnest version of legal. The kind of legal that exists in the space between the letter of a regulation and its intent. You're very good at finding that space. 3 weeks in, Marcus transfers $9,000 to an account he helped you set up. The second half comes when you deliver the final report. You stare at the balance for a long time. It doesn't feel like you imagined. It feels quieter. More factual. You pay the student loan. You get the transmission serviced. You buy groceries without doing math in your head at the checkout counter. For the first time in years, you sleep the whole night through. The second project comes 6 weeks later. Different client, Marcus says. Similar scope. The number this time is $26,000. You don't sit on your kitchen floor. You don't stare out the window for 6 days. You ask 2 clarifying questions about deliverables and timeline. You say yes on the same call. This is the moment, though you won't understand it for a long time. Not the first yes. The second yes is where you actually change. The first one was desperation wrapped in justification. The second one is just a decision. Clean and quiet and made with full awareness. That's the one that costs you. Over the following 8 months, you complete 6 projects. The scope grows each time, not dramatically, but incrementally. The clients shift from freight logistics to financial infrastructure, then to something Marcus describes only as federal-adjacent regulatory consulting. You learn not to ask for more clarity than you're given. You learn that this is its own skill. Your rate climbs. By Project 5, you're billing $40,000 for engagements that take 3 to 4 weeks. You move to a better apartment. Not ostentatious. You're not stupid. You tell your family it's a promotion. Your sister seems genuinely happy for you. You feel something during that conversation that you don't look at directly. You upgrade your car. You start cooking properly. You go to the gym at 6 in the morning because you have the energy now, because your nervous system has recalibrated to a life where the baseline isn't quiet financial panic. Project 7 involves a man named Daniel Reyes. You never meet him in person. You're only given his name once, accidentally, in an email thread Marcus forgot to clean before forwarding. You research the name out of habit. Daniel Reyes is the subject of an active federal investigation.
Securities fraud, wire fraud, possible RICO implications.
The case has been running for 2 years. The article you find, a brief mention in a regional business journal, describes the investigation as ongoing, and notes that at least 2 cooperating witnesses have already provided testimony. You close the browser tab. You open it again. You close it again. You deliver the project on time. You don't tell yourself this is fine. That would take too much energy. Instead, you simply don't think about it. You go to the gym. You call your sister. You make dinner. You watch something on your laptop, and this time you remember what it is. This is what moral numbing actually looks like. Not monstrous. Not dramatic. Just a quiet decision to keep your eyes pointed in a specific direction. The life you're living now has two layers, and you've become fluent in both. Layer 1 is the compliance analyst who still works at the logistics firm, still attends the same networking events, still sends his mother a card on her birthday with a check tucked inside. Layer 1 makes small talk with co-workers. Layer 1 has strong opinions about the local coffee shop that opened near the office. Layer 2 is the version of you who receives encrypted project briefs through a file transfer service that auto-deletes after 72 hours. Layer 2 has a spreadsheet, carefully disguised as a personal budget document, that tracks payment structures across 6 separate financial instruments. Layer 2 understands, in a technical and granular way, how certain federal investigations work, and where they are likely to look and when. What surprises you is how comfortable the compartmentalization becomes. You expected it to feel like lying. It doesn't. It feels like context management. Like being a different resolution of the same person depending on what the situation requires. You're not lying to the people in your life. You're simply not showing them everything. Everyone does this, you tell yourself. This is true. It's also, in your specific case, not the point. It happens on an unremarkable Wednesday. You're at the networking event, the same one where you first reconnected with Marcus 3 years ago. The same venue, same catered appetizers you've never liked, same background noise of professional ambition expressed through careful sentences. A man approaches you near the bar. Mid-30s, good posture, a forgettable face in the best possible way. He introduces himself as a consultant. He asks if you're in compliance. You say yes. You smile the way you always smile at these things, present but contained. He says he has a colleague who might benefit from your expertise. Someone doing sophisticated work in logistics and regulatory navigation. He mentions that this colleague values people who understand how federal reporting structures actually function, as opposed to how they're supposed to function. The phrasing is exact. Precise. The same precision Marcus used years ago, before you knew what it meant. You go very still inside your own body. Not visibly, you've gotten good at keeping the outside calm while the inside recalibrates. But something has landed. A recognition. You think about Marcus. You think about how he found you. You think about the networking event where you first reconnected. You think about how natural it all felt. How organic. How much it seemed like coincidence and professional overlap. You think about the fact that you are now standing here, being approached in the exact same way, using the exact same language. You were never found. You were recruited. You were evaluated, profiled, and introduced to a process designed to bring a specific type of person to a specific level of usefulness. Your desperation, your competence, your ethical flexibility, your need for control, none of it was accidental. All of it was known before you made your first call. Marcus didn't need a consultant. Marcus needed a successor. You look at the man in front of you. His card is already between his fingers, held lightly, waiting. You think about your apartment, your car, the groceries you buy without doing math, the sleep you didn't used to get. You think about your sister and the warmth in her voice when she thinks your life is going well. You think about Daniel Reyes, whose name you closed a browser tab on. You think about the person you were on a kitchen floor in October, reading a letter about a student loan. There are people in your life who love a version of you that no longer fully exists. Your sister calls every Sunday. She asks how work is going. You tell her it's good, that you've found your footing, that things are finally clicking. She says she's proud of you, and she means it completely, and you let her mean it because taking that away from her would cost you the last clean thing you have. Your mother still has a photo of you from your college graduation on her refrigerator. You in a cap and gown, squinting slightly into the sun, looking like someone who believed the world would eventually make space for him if he was patient and precise enough. You haven't looked directly at that photo in 2 years. The peace of mind is the strangest loss. Not the dramatic kind, not nightmares, not paranoia, not jumping at shadows. Just the absence of a particular quietness you used to have. A stillness that existed when your life was smaller and harder, but entirely your own. You didn't know it was there until it was gone. You don't know if you can get it back. You're not sure you've tried. You understand now that this is how it works. Not with force. Not with threats. With increments. With comfort. With a slow, patient replacement of one version of yourself with another until the original feels like someone you used to know, someone you might have liked, someone who made a different choice on a different night. The man in front of you is still waiting. His expression is patient, professionally warm. You recognize the calibration because you've practiced it yourself in mirrors. You reach out and take the card. Your hand is steady. Your face is pleasant. Your voice, when you speak, is calm and measured and gives nothing away. Tell me more, you say. And somewhere in a federal building 40 minutes from where you're standing, in a file that has had your name in it for longer than you know, a surveillance log records the time, the location, and the initiation of contact. The next phase has already begun. You just don't know which side of it you're on.